Welcome or welcome back to my channel. I'm Zay, and today I'm going to be doing my September wrap up. Okay, all of the lines all over my face, I'm just like, I'm so beyond annoyed, and I cannot really get rid of them, so I'm so sorry for that. That is annoying me. I'm sure that's annoying you all. I'm so sorry about that, but we're going to be wrapping up September. September was a pretty good reading month, 13 books in the month of September with some new releases that I read. So the first book I want to talk about is Mine to Promise by Natasha Madison. So this is a surprise pregnancy or surprise baby, small town, one night stand kind of romance. Basically, our hero and heroine, they slept together a long time ago. They had a one night stand, didn't really know each other. The next day, our heroine left. They went their separate ways. They had no way of getting in contact with each other or anything like that. And I think it's 4 years later. Yeah, I think 4 years later, they both end up attending a wedding. They see each other. Now our hero sees the woman that he slept with, and sees our heroine, and he also sees her daughter who looks like him. And they were together 4 years ago, so he puts two and two together and realizes that he has a daughter. Stefano and Addison had a really sweet and cute romance. He basically wants to step in right away, be her dad, be a part of her life. He's very distraught about the years that he missed out on. And also he's distraught that Addison has had to do this by herself. She hasn't had any support from her family. So he steps in right away. Now, this romance is pretty low angst, low stakes. It was just sweet and cute and to the point. I enjoyed it. It was just a quick read, but it's not like a favorite or anything like that. Now this is, oh gosh, I can't remember which book this is in the series. We're pretty deep into the series here. It did not affect my experience reading this book. Obviously, it's better to read these kind of books in order just so you know the characters. It did not affect my experience. If you just want something cute and sweet and just low angst, easy read, the audiobook is really nice. You can get through it pretty quickly. I recommend this one. So the next new release that I read was Salt Kiss by Sierra Simone. So I talked about this book in my TBR from last month. I also want to mention I did read a lot of the books on my TBR. I did not read a lot of them as well, but I read quite a few of those, so I'm pretty happy about how my September TBR went, by the way. But the first book, the prequel novella to to Salt Kiss is Salt on the Wound, which I do personally recommend that you all read before you read Salt in the Wound. I just think that it'll help you kind of have some knowledge of kind of like the dynamic of our characters and see how everything comes together. I just think that it'll be a little bit more of a payoff for you. In Salt in the Wound, we're following Isolde, and I believe I'm saying her name right, Isolde. I'm so sorry if I'm not. But Isolde we start out with her. I believe that she has just graduated high school. Now, she dreams of being a nun. That's really what she wants to do with the rest of her life. Her dad crushes those dreams that she has to become a nun by telling her that she has been arranged to marry. Mark is a former CIA agent, and he's also the owner of Lioness, which is a club. Informs her that he has a lot of clients and things that attend Lioness, and able for people to believe that he would actually marry her. She has to become a submissive, but she definitely is very intrigued. She kind of has this intrigue with pain, and so he starts working with her on how to become submissive, so people will believe that this marriage is legit. The prequel novella covers a couple years. The way that Salt and the Moon ended definitely made me very excited to jump right into Salt Kiss. We are following Tristan. Tristan becomes Mark's bodyguard. Tristan is a damaged hero. He's gone through a lot. He served in the military and he went through something traumatic, and he's really dealing with all of that. And so there are some like mental health stuff going on with Tristan. But Tristan becomes intrigued by Mark. Really enjoy just seeing Tristan and Mark's dynamic. It's very different than Isolde and Mark. And so I liked seeing these two spend a lot of time together. It was just very interesting. They have really good chemistry. I really enjoyed reading about them. Tristan is my favorite, I have to say. I really enjoyed reading about him and that we got so much time to spend with him. Now, Tristan is not aware that Mark is engaged, so he definitely starts falling for Mark, spending time with Mark. And then he finds out that Mark is engaged to Isolde, and Sought Kiss ended so well. Like, I wanted to continue to the next book immediately. Unfortunately, we have to wait a little while together. I don't think I mentioned it, but this is an MMF, and then it's an Tristan and Isolde retelling. And I can see why people love Sierra Simone's writing so much. I think that she did a really good job with this one, and I'm very excited for the next book. Then I read Witch of Wild Things by Raquel Vasquez, and this was a new to me author. This sounded perfect for, you know, spooky paranormal season, and so I wanted to read this one, and I enjoyed the romance element, and then I enjoyed the story and our heroine's growth and journey that she went on in this book as well. We're following Sage Flores. So Sage has just returned to her small town. Her family is considered to be cursed. So all the women in the family have gifts. They don't really see it as gifts, but they all have gifts. And she's been running away from this since she moved from her small town, and also since her younger sister died many years ago. And so now she's returned, and she's a very strained relationship with her family. Now, Sage's gift is she has a gift of communicating with plants. She ends up working at a rose company where she's able to use her gifts to communicate with plants. Another person that ends up working there is Tennessee Reyes. He broke her heart a long time ago. He does not know this, which you have to read more about to kind of find out why, but he broke her heart many years ago, and she's not happy that she has to work with him again. So there's a lot going on in this. We have our heroine who's returning back home to her roots, to her family, and then also she's working with this guy who broke her heart. It is perfect for this season as well. It has paranormal and magical realism elements that I enjoyed. I thought the writing was very strong and engaging. I recommend it for the spooky season, and I recommend it overall. Okay, so I have a couple other paranormal books that I read this month as well. We're just going to continue on with this. So the next book is Intersect by Elizabeth O'Rourke. Well, Elle O'Rourke for this one. So this book Parallel number 2. So I read Parallel last year. I loved it. I really enjoyed it. It has to be one of the most unique romances that I have ever read. And so I can't talk about this one too much because this is the second book in the duet. I felt the same way like I did with the first one. I was just immediately sucked into the story, and I just couldn't put this down. We're following Nick and Quinn. So Quinn is engaged to her fiance. She's about to get married, and however, Quinn has these dreams that don't feel like dreams. They feel like memories about this guy. And it's, like I said, they're very vivid, lucid dreams. Now, Quinn ends up having to go to the hospital. She's having some health issues. She recognizes her doctor, who is Nick. This is the guy that she sees in her dreams. Nick is also dreaming about Quinn and recognizes her as well. They're trying to figure out how they know each other, like what's going on, trying to figure out their connection and why they're dreaming about one another. And so that's how the story takes place. I cannot talk about anything else. It's so unique. It was so interesting. I just couldn't put this down again. I thought this was a really good second book in the series. This is the conclusion to Nick and Quinn's story. There's another duet in the series as well, follows different characters, again, that are connected to this one. There's so much going on in the story. It definitely took a turn that I was not expecting, but the romance is very epic as well. Other paranormal type of book that I read this month was Shadows by Kristen Proby. So this is the first book in her Bayou Magic series. It follows 3 sisters. It takes place in Louisiana. The 3 sisters are all witches, and they all have their own powers. This book follows Brielle. Brielle is a medium. She sees dead people. Her sisters have powers. I loved that. It gave me Hocus Pocus vibes. I was living. This is perfect for spooky season. If you want a spooky book, then this is the book for you. It takes place in Louisiana. Obviously, that's the perfect setting for the story, but there's ghosts and witches, and there's a serial killer. I love this one. I just had a lot of fun with it. This is on KU, and I was able to listen to it on audio. Elle is a tour guide, and she's just going on about her day. She's doing her regular tour route. She does try to avoid certain routes because, like I said, she sees dead people, and she tries to stay away from some of the other haunted kind of areas. But while she's on her tour, while she's doing her tour, she notices some new ghosts that she's never seen before. And also who's on this tour is Cash, or Cassian, who's our hero. These two end up going on a date together. And like I said, our heroine is still seeing these ghosts, and she's actually seeing more. They are women, and they look brutalized. They just look like that they have been through it. And basically we end up finding out that there is someone going around and murdering young women. Now, these young women look very similar to her heroine. The ghosts are there. They're trying to warn Brielle, and they're trying to help her find them. She has to team up with Cassian. Now, Cassian is an FBI profiler, so he ends up working with Brielle to try to figure out who is killing these women. Like I said, it was just all of the vibes that you're looking for the spooky season. It was creepy. We get the serial killer's point of view, and it is brutal. Like, being in his mind was scary. Jason Clarke actually narrates the serial killer's POV, and he did such a fantastic job. It creeped me out. The book definitely deals with some dark content. It's not a dark romance, but it definitely deals with some very dark content, so just be aware of that. I do want to say just a couple things that people may not like about this book. The romance is kind of secondary to the story, the plot. The romance in here is a little bit insta-lovey, but to me, this felt more like a fated mate situation. They don't say that they're fated mates, but that's just the vibe that I get from the story. And then also, like I said, there is a big mystery element trying to figure out who the serial killer is. So if you don't like those elements, more romantic elements, then you may not enjoy this one, but this was perfect for me and exactly what I was in the mood for. I will be continuing with this series. I'm very invested in these sisters. It gave me Hocus Pocus vibes, and I was here for it. Okay, so I did read a couple new to me authors. The first new to me author that I read was Kat Singleton, and I read Rewrite Our Story by Kat Singleton. So this was on my TBR. Like I said, I did read quite a bit of books from my TBR. Now, this book, I was so excited to read it because I really wanted to read the second book that just recently came out in September. I did not get to that one, but I will soon. Now, when I first started this story, I absolutely loved it. I was obsessed with it. I did end up losing it. This book did end up losing its steam for me. I thought this was going to be a 5-star, but it wasn't, but I still really enjoyed this one. So in this book, this is a small town romance, second chance romance. We have a heroine who's returning home to her small town. We have like a cowboy hero, all the things that we love. So we're following Cade and Marigold. So back in the day, Cade and Marigold had something special. Marigold ended up leaving home, and now she has returned because Cade is actually her best friend's brother, and their mom has passed away. She's in town for the funeral. Now she's very nervous about this as well because she's nervous to see Cade. He definitely is pretty upset with her, A, for leaving, and then B, for the fact that she never came back. And so these two are around each other again, and old feelings resurface that never really went away. And these two have to face their feelings for one another and also face what happened in the past and figure out if they can have something in the present day. So, as I said, I was absolutely obsessed and loving this book. This book starts off so strong. These two have such a strong connection from at a very young age that just builds into something really beautiful. Marigold lost her mom at a very young age, and her dad basically checked out. He did not know how to cope with the loss of his wife, and so she was basically on her own. And his family, her best friend's family and Cade's family, took her in. She was, like I said, she became very close with their mother and their family, and her and Cade became very close, leaned on him a lot, and they basically leaned on each other. And so losing that friendship and that relationship really did a number on both of them. And I really liked the beginning. Like I said, it was very strong. They had a very strong emotional connection that I was really excited to explore. And there were some flashbacks that were used that I liked. I do like flashbacks. I am not a hater of flashbacks. I think that if you hate flashbacks, I do not think you like this book too much. But I'm not a super big hater of them. But Something that I don't like that happens in second chance romance. Here's the thing. I love second chance romances. I think they are the superior trope. I think second chance is a superior trope. I truly, truly do. But it has to be done very well. And in my opinion, I really like to see the characters in present day. I want to know how they work in the present day. I don't really care too much about what happened in the past. I really want to see how these characters can make it work now. So usually it's been a while since the couple has seen each other, and I always like to spend a lot of time with them in present day. This book had a lot of flashbacks, and I got very annoyed with the flashbacks, number one. Number two, this became all about their physical relationship. Listen, I love intimacy in romance. It's one of my favorite parts, but when it overtakes it and that's all that's happening and you get chapters and chapters and chapters of those scenes, it's repetitive and I get bored. And I simply got bored because I wanted more of their emotional development and their relationship development and the romance. And so I was disappointed by that because, like I said, I really was loving this. I thought it was going to be 5 stars and it wasn't. I gave this book 4 stars. It's really more like a 3.5 stars. I did enjoy the writing and I was very attached to these characters very quickly, but it lost steam for me. So it's more of a me thing. Couple things that happen in this book, that's a me thing. But I definitely want to read more from Kat Singleton, and I'm excited to read the second book in the series. So next we have Unbreak My Heart, Nicole Jacqueline. So I've seen a few friends read this book, and I know Sam from Sam Reads a Little loves this book, and Sam has elite taste. So this is like an OG favorite of hers. So I was excited to read it, found it on Hoopla, and I picked it up. And let me just say, I've never been so frustrated. Okay, that's not true. I have been frustrated with the book, but the hero in this book made me so mad. He pissed me off, and I did not think that I would end up liking him. I was like, am I gonna ever like this guy? He did grovel. He did not grovel enough for me, but I ended up really enjoying this book. I gave it 4 stars, and I definitely recommend this book. This is an all-consuming, can't put this down, have to know what shenanigans is gonna happen next. This was messy. This was angsty. This is a hot mess express, and I was here for all of it. So in this book, we're following Kate. Kate is basically in love with her best friend's husband, who doesn't like her, hates her guts. So Kate is best friends with Rachel, and Rachel is married to our hero. And our hero and our heroine have a history together. They've known each other for a very long time. They used to be close. They used to be friends. They have like family connections and things. So anyway, Shane ends up dating her best friend, and they don't have a relationship after that. He acts like he hates her, acts like he can't stand her ever. Now Shane is in the military, and Kate steps in and helps Rachel out a lot when he is on deployment. And so she's very close with her kids and everything like that. And Rachel and Kate have a very special bond. Now, Rachel ends up in an accident. Rachel's baby survived, but Rachel did not. She's passed away, and Shane is having a very hard time with this. Of course, Kate is as well. She steps up immediately for the kids, starts helping out when she can, and her and Shane are basically co-parenting together. Now, one night, Kate and Shane end up sleeping together on the anniversary of Rachel's death, and the story takes off from there. Shane is such a jerk. Shane is such a jerk. I hated the way that he treated Kate, and I was beyond frustrated with this man. He was like, Kate was just his personal punching bag, and I was so frustrated with Kate. I just wanted her to stand up for herself, and I did not understand why she loved him, why she had feelings for him. I understand that she had feelings for him before, but I did not understand why she liked him now. This was very frustrating, but I can't say I ended up liking Shane, but I did enjoy Unbreak My Heart. It was a wild ride. Shane sucked. He pissed me off. He ended up winning me over at the end, but not enough for this to be like a 5-star read. I was too mad at him for a long time, but Kate was an angel who needed to stick up for herself a little bit more. There's more books in the series, so I'm very interested to go and read more, but I enjoyed this one. Before we move into my favorites, I did want to talk about a thriller called None of This Is True by Lisa Joel. I love thrillers. I am a thriller girly. I have not read a lot of them this year. I just haven't really been in the thriller mood. And I just feel like the thrillers I've read haven't been that great. But I wanted to read my first Lisa Joel, and I did. This is her newest release. None of This Is True follows Alex. Alex is a true crime, she's a podcaster, and she ends up getting intertwined with Josie, her birthday twin. So Alex and Josie, like I said, have the same birthday. After their birthday, Alex and Josie run into each other, and Josie said she would be a very good fit for Alex's podcast, and that she thinks that it would be a very interesting kind of experience. So Alex agrees to this, and she ends up working with Josie, interviewing Josie. There's definitely a lot going on with Josie and in Josie's life. A lot of weird things are happening. Josie is a very interesting character. But Alex continues with the podcast. She's very determined to get this story out. She feels like this is a very interesting and good podcast. But things end up happening in this book. This book takes a turn and crazy things start happening. And Alex realizes that she's way in over her head with Josie, and she is now becoming the subject of her true crime podcast. So this audiobook was absolutely fantastic. I recommend that as the way that you experience this story. It feels like you're listening to a podcast. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, this is my first Lisa Joel. I gave this one a 4 stars. This did not get a 5-star for me. I will say it's hard for me to give a thriller a 5-star rating. I just want to be completely blown away. I can't say I was completely blown away. I think near the end, I just think the book got kind of slow for me. And I was like, I'm ready for something to happen. I'm ready to get back into it. And so it did lose a little bit of steam for me, but more by Lisa Joel. And I think I'm back in my thriller era and highly recommend it for all the thriller lovers out there. So now I'm going to talk about all of my favorite books that I read in September. So one of my favorites was Here With Me by Brooke Montgomery. Again, this is on my TBR. I read it. I'm so proud of myself. So I ended up absolutely loving this story. This is about Noah and Fisher. Noah and Fisher end up having a one-night stand together, and the next night Noah realizes that he is her ex's dad. She is still friends with her ex, and she knows that they have a strained relationship, and so she decides that she's no longer going to continue this with Fisher, and it was just like a one-night stand, one and done kind of thing. But he ends up working at being a new employee at her family's ranch, and so now they're working together, they're around each other, they have crazy sexual chemistry, and it's really hard for them to stay away from each other. I read this as an ALC from Forever and Always PR. The ebook and things already came out, but the audiobook came out a few weeks later. I really enjoyed this. I had so much fun, but also this had a lot of emotional depth to the story that I really wasn't expecting. Fisher, this book starts off very, very emotional. Fisher has gone through a lot. There is a reason why he's so estranged from his son. His daughter passed away many years ago, and he blamed himself, and he really struggled with his mental health after, and he wasn't able to be the father that his son needed. And in that time, he was not in his son's life. And so he's back, moved to this small town to be closer to his son and to kind of fix that relationship, and to kind of mend that relationship. But obviously, this has become very complicated. The angst was so good. The tension was so good. Now, a couple of things that this book was not a 5-star for me, and there's a couple of reasons why. So the first reason is I wanted Noah and Fisher to fight their feelings a little bit more. I'm always gonna want more angst. And with the tropes in this book, which is forbidden, age gap, ex's dad, workplace romance, like I want a lot of angst. I want to keep that tension as long as we can. And they definitely just kind of give in fairly quickly, a little bit quicker than I wanted them to. And I just wanted more because I'm just that girl. I'm always gonna want more angst and tension, but they did have a secret relationship. They snuck around, and that helped with the angst and the tension. So I can complain too much, but I did like that. I did feel like the intimate scenes weren't my favorite, but Fisher makes a point to say that he wants to spend more time with Noah. He wants to get to know her more so that they can kind of explore things beyond their physical relationship. And so I did like that they had that conversation, because I did feel like their relationship and their connection was very lust driven, but they do have so much in common and they spend a lot of time together, and you really do get to see why they really do work out together. Those are ultimately the reasons why I just wanted that tension a little bit longer. And then the steamy scenes, intimate scenes just weren't really my favorite in this book, and that did hinder my enjoyment just a little bit. But overall, I really did enjoy this one. Fisher really does want a good relationship with his son, and so you really do see him struggle with that quite a bit in this book, of wanting this woman, wanting to get to know Noah more, spending more time with her, but really struggling with the fact that he does want to mend his relationship with his sons. And I think she set up the next book in the series very, very well. Now, the next book that I really loved was Sinful Vows by Asia Monique. Also on my TBR, we're just killing it. So this is the first book in her Mafia series. Now, I have read a couple other books by Asia Monique, and this one is very different from a lot of the things that she's written. This is her first Mafia series, and I really enjoyed what she did here. I became very obsessed with this one. This is a Black Italian like mafia book, which I've never read before, and it was just overall such a fun reading experience. I think she did a pretty good job. Like I said, this is very different from Asia Monique, so I think this first book definitely could have been tighter, and there were some issues with it that ultimately is the reason why I didn't get to give it 5 stars. But I think that the next book in the series will get better, and I'm just very excited to read more in this world, because I was just very intrigued and obsessed, couldn't stop reading, couldn't put it down. So we are following Lucia. She is a mafia princess. She's also an assassin, and she is informed by her father that she's been set up in an arranged marriage by Enzo. He is a made man, and he is going to become the king of his family. And this book starts off these mafia families who are meeting, and they are building an alliance. It's 5 families. They come together and they are trying to build an alliance together. Now, Enzo's family, his family has just separated from their family because his dad was adopted into his family. Now, his dad is Italian and his mom is Black. He was adopted into this family, and his dad is like, I need a son who looks like me. So he adopted another child, and I think they have a couple more that they adopt as well, I think. But basically, when the time comes for Enzo's dad to take over, his uncle steps in and decides that he's going to take over the family because he is Italian. And so what I enjoyed about this book is the conversation of race was very interesting. Like I said, the book starts off with the 5 families meeting together. We get like the Irish mob, Russian mob, etc. And all of them are mixed race. And I thought that was such an interesting topic that Asia Monique tackled in this one. And that is ultimately the reason why Enzo and his family have separated, and why they really need to make sure that they are connecting with the right people and connecting with Lucia's family. It will make their family connection, it will make the alliance stronger and permanent. There's more going on with this arranged marriage, but like I said, the start of the book made me very excited for the other books, because we know that we have this 5 alliances with these families. There's lots of action because, like I said, our heroine is an assassin. The romance between Lucia and Enzo is so wonderful. If you want a book with a very strong hero, Lucia is that girl. She was absolutely amazing. I like the way that Enzo treated her, and how ultimately how the women are treated in this mafia series, I think is going to be really great. And then Enzo was very protective, very alpha, very supportive of Lucia. I just really enjoyed this romance a lot, and I'm very excited for the next book in the series. It follows Lucia's brother. It's very unique in the aspect that I have never read a Black mafia romance before, and overall this was just so well done, and I'm very, very excited to continue with this series. Now we're gonna move into my 5-star reads. We have is Before the Sunset by Laura Pavlov. That is the 4th book in the Cottonwood Cove series. I have really enjoyed the Cottonwood Cove series this year, and as of right now, this book is my favorite. I am so obsessed with Reese and Finn's story. This is childhood friends to lovers. We have a fake dating, just everything that I love and specifically love from Laura Pavlov. So in this book, we're following Reese and Finn, who, like I said, are childhood best friends. They grew up in Cottonwood Cove together, and right now, so Reese has recently gotten out of a relationship with her long-term boyfriend. She works in interior design, and she actually had an opportunity in London. She couldn't pass it up. Her ex was very upset, wasn't supportive over her moving there, over her working there temporarily. And so they broke up, and she's very sad about this, heartbroken, but she's hoping that when she comes back home to Cottonwood Cove, they can reconnect and make up. Now, Reese actually finds out that her ex is in a relationship with someone, and Finn knows that Reese would have a really hard time with this. She's supposed to come home, she doesn't, so he ends up going to London to go see her, bring her home, support her, and she's having a hard time with this. Now, Finn is a actor. He's doing very well for himself, and he's having an issue with one of his coworkers who has made his life hell for the last few months. She claims that they were dating and he broke her heart, and she's just making it very difficult for him and for the show that they work on together. So for Finn's image, his PR person basically recommends that he do something about this, and he needs to date someone seriously to try to help his image, right? Because his career has recently just taken off, and he does not need this bad publicity. So when Finn goes to London, paparazzi, people kind of catch up on this, and they think that him and Reese are dating. And so they just decided to go along with it. Reese decides to go along with this to make her ex jealous so she can get him back. And Finn decides to go along with this to help her out, and also he needs the help for his image. Being in a committed relationship will help him. So this fake relationship turns into something very, very real. So it was crazy about Reese. He was just gone for her completely, head over heels. I just thought they had such a great foundation of a friendship. And I think Laura Pavlov did such a good job transitioning into dating and being in love. It just totally made sense. It's just such a beautiful book. It was sweet, it was funny, it was cute, it was sexy. I just loved every minute of it. I didn't even mind like the conflict that they had. I was a little annoyed with Reese at times, but I understood, and I felt like the conflict made sense. You know, Finn is someone who has never settled down, and so she's hard for him, but she's definitely questioning if it's real because he does not do real relationships, and she's worried that because he has a movie that's coming up. Basically, they have a timeline when they're going to end things because he's going to have to move and shoot this movie, and about how he'll feel when he comes back, if it'll still be real. And so I definitely understood the conflict that they had in this book. I thought it made sense. But ultimately, Finn and Reese just have such a sweet and beautiful romance, and it definitely had a lot of angst. You know, they're both trying to like fight their feelings, but they can only fight it for so long. I just really enjoyed this so much. I just think that these two were meant to be together, and they made sense all along. And I am so excited for the next book in this series. It is going to be so good. I can't wait. And I'm sad that this is going to be ending, but I'm very excited to see what Laura Pavlov has next. But even if you haven't read any of the books in this series, if you like Friends to Lovers, Small Town, I absolutely recommend it. It's so perfect for this season because there's like a fall festival scene, Thanksgiving, Christmas. It's just perfect for this time of year. So I highly recommend this one. We have my favorite book that I read this month, which is Saving Six by Chloe Walsh. I do give 6-star ratings, and this book is 6 stars for me. Man, this is such a special book. This is Joey and Aoife's story. If you have not read Binding or Keeping 13, then you absolutely need to. I think it's a must. You cannot read this one without reading the prior books in the series, I just don't think you will be as connected with the story and things like that. We do know about Joey and Aoife a little bit in those books, but in Saving Six, we literally get their entire story from like the moment they met, obviously until where this one stops, and then we pick up with Redeeming Six, which I have not picked up Redeeming Six yet. I need a little time. Joey and Aoife's story was amazing. I knew it was going to be amazing. I did not know if it would be as good as Shannon and Johnny's, and it was maybe even better. Oh, these are just my babies. I love them so much. This was, let me tell you, I cried so much. Joey has to be one of my favorite characters that I've ever read about. And he truly just stole my heart. He stole my heart in Binding and Keeping 13, but he absolutely stole it in this book. Chloe Walsh is just such an impeccable, amazing storyteller, and she wrote her butt off in Saving Six. Like she wrote such an amazing, epic, emotional, heartbreaking romance, and I do think that some of this could have been cut out and stuff like that, but honestly, I love Chloe Walsh so much that I'm in it. I'm in the story. These are long books, but when you're so invested in these characters, because they're so special and they mean so much to you, you don't even care how long the books are. You're just in it. You're in it with them. And Joey and Aoife, let me just say that being in Joey's mind and getting things from his point of view was even more heartbreaking. Like if you thought Binding and Keeping 13 was heartbreaking, then you don't know anything, because Joey's point of view is so sad and just absolutely just breaks my heart. Being back in that house with Joey and his siblings was so hard to read. I mean, it was really, really hard to read. Obviously, we know what happens and everything like that, but it was very, very difficult to read. This is not an easy read by any means. There's very, very heavy and very triggering content in here, so take care of yourself if you're going to read this. But Aoife is also one of my favorite characters that I've ever read about. The way that she cares for Joey, she has like this, she is 100%, 100,000% committed to Joey. She will never leave his side. They both have such a beautiful connection that's like out of this world. But Aoife is so committed to Joey. A very strong heroine. She stands by him and she supports him every step of the way. This is toxic. It is angsty. It is heartbreaking. You just don't know how they're possibly going to work to fight Aoife. Like, he does not want Aoife to have to be in his world and deal with him because he has so much going on. It is such a heavy, heavy load for him. And Aoife is constantly like, let me help you. Let me help you out. Let me take some of that load off of you. Let me love you. Let me in. That's kind of their dynamic. Joey's trying to push her out and she's like, let me in. I'm here. I'm never going to leave you. Friendship is beautiful. Just their devotion, unwavering love and devotion to each other was, I just don't have the words. It's just very, very special. This is such a special book. This is such a special series that just, Chloe Walsh she killed it. This was absolutely amazing, and I cannot wait to read Redeeming Six. I don't know when I will. I have a jam-packed October TBR, but and that, you know, this deserves a lot of my attention if I'm gonna read it. But I truly cannot recommend the Boys of Tommen series enough if you can handle the subject matter and if you're willing to kind of dive into it. It is a commitment, as you can see, but it is worth it. It's worth it if you want an epic, beautiful, very unique love story. So 6 stars, absolutely amazing. So that is it for my September wrap up. I hope you all enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all in my next video. Please let me know what you all read in September. Did you love the books? What would you recommend to me? Have you read any of these books? Let's chat, let's catch up. I'll see you all very soon. Bye.